Hello and welcome. Welcome to the top of the world. Got an interesting thing to do this morning. As you can see, I'm inside the enclosure. Our chick should have been born today. Now I've heard a little cheep, so we're going to have a little investigation. I've put the wire net over the top there. That's to stop the others killing the chicks. Yep. We're going to have a look. We see how susceptible she is to me having a look. But I've heard a cheeping. Yeah, all right, girl. It's okay. It's okay. Can we have a little look to see what you got? Let's have a little look under there. Yeah, I know. You don't want to let me really. Let's try this egg. Right, I'm pretty sure there's a noise coming from that egg. See the little one? And there's another egg under there. And listen to this one as well. Not sure about those two. There you go. There you go, Mum. Thank you very much. So we've got one little yellow chick under there. I got pea tops. I've had peas, so we're pecking around in there. And she's got to come out of there today and go into the new enclosure. So we're going to have to open them other eggs hatch. And the reason I say that is because it's easy to get her out of there by taking her chicks out and putting them in there. I did try and move her once before, and even though I moved her from there into the cage, she didn't like it at all. She just didn't like it at all and trashed the whole place, and I had to get her eggs out quick and put her back in there, and she ain't moved since. So I don't want to move her until all her chicks are born, and the other eggs should hatch today. Can't hear any chirping or noises from those other two eggs. Anyway, we'll check her. There you go, successfully moved to their new accommodation. So I've moved her eggs, she's sitting on both her eggs, and that one little chick you just saw, well, she's just underneath there. So this is a building I'd like to have done more on, but we're working on the main building back in the village, which is obviously our workshop, factory and living accommodation. But I have made a start, and I'm a bit embarrassed about the grass situation. So the walls here can be saved and repainted, but the wall on that far end's got to be replaced. And then you can see here I've put all the new windows in with new glass. So we secure the windows first and then the roof, and then we do it. I could really like to have cut this grass one more time. It just saves me so much aggravation. It's a beautiful looking building. And all the windows were broken, every single window had been smashed. What's really strange is the kids have done it over the years, over many years, and they smashed the windows in the front. But if you go round the back, right, which is really trying to get your head around that, if you go round the back, none of the windows are smashed. Anyway, all of the windows were broken here, all of these lower windows were smashed. There's a few missing up the top. But the building was always full of pigeons. Always full of pigeons. Well, not just pigeons, any birds. Right, so we're around the back now. We can see here, right, none of the windows at the back have been smashed. Anyway, so what's my plans with this building? Well, I'd certainly like to put the theatre back. I'd also like to get that old vintage camera running. So the last film that was played here was Peter Sellers, November 1963. And I know at least 2 people that were at the last viewing of Peter Sellers, Pink Panther, 1963. Have I got the original film? Yeah, I have. Yeah, fascinating. Anyway, that's that checked. How beautiful is that? Stunning, absolutely stunning. Here he is, the mad one. Is he recovering from his dog attack? Yeah, his eye's getting better. Didn't think it'd take so long. Anyway, we stopped on the way back from the theatre. Anyway, it's that time of year. It's that time of year because I've got my light on my hat, so you know it's coming. And yeah, the trees are just stunning. It's just absolutely fantastic. Amazing. Even. So we don't have any broadleaves here. I know I've said it many times, but for my new subscribers. 3 predominant species of tree here in the far north. It's birch, fir and pine. Do we have anything else? Occasionally you can find aspen in small clumps, and occasionally you can find willow, but you know, and trees being weeds, all these small bushes you see, they're not bushes, they're trees. Do they grow really fast? Yeah, they grow really fast. So we're in a bit of a quarry here. It's somewhere where his lordship likes to tear around and get his fill of new smells. We have to be aware that it's hunting season. So he's got his high-vis collar on, which is, you know, we put it on him. He should really have a high-vis jacket just because. But anyway, there's no signs up in areas where they hunt. They put up the orange triangles, you know they're hunting. But right at the moment, they're not. And it's raining. And it's going to rain for 5, 6, 7 days. I've been doing a bit of thinning around here, I think. Yeah. So today is 13th, 14th September. We went out fishing last night. Probably be in this video. That was our last trip out. That's it. So all the stuff is off the boat. I've just got to get that boat in and take the pontoons in. Right, that's him done. Now we're back to start working inside. And I'll show you this lovely new tool I've got. It's quite amazing, right? It's what's needed. It's absolutely what's needed. All right, come on then, let's go. Also on the way back, I thought I'd stop and show you what it's like once the weather starts to turn here. This is the stunning river that we was on just, well, last night. Last night I pulled all the cages, pulled everything out of the boat, and I'm still on the boat ramp. Check this out. Now that's not a place you want to be. Can be nice in the summer. Harshest place in the world. Is it? One of them. One of the harshest places in the world to be during winter. Anyway, it's coming and it's chasing me. Not a nice place to be, that. Just before I start getting into all this big jobs I've got to do, and now the rain started, I need to clear a few small jobs out of my way. This table has come around wild with me. It's been a bit neglected to say the least. I've given it a quick wash down with just some bleach. And I want to give it a really quick reno on the top, clean it all up, get it back upstairs where it needs to be. So this is a hardwood, a teak. What's really interesting is you never, when you've got a piece of furniture, you never know what's been on it and how many layers have been on it. So the best way of cleaning it up rather than try and sand it is with a wire brush, because sanding and finished hardwood don't really go together. I'll show you why. It's a 240 grit piece of, you know, sandpaper. and it's not working. Find a fresh bit. And immediately the grit, you can feel it just go straight out of it. What's happened? Waste of a sanding disc, waste of your time. What you want? Small wire brush, very fine wires. Make it nice again and seal it up and get it back upstairs. Right, so then what I've elected to use, right, something that's quite rare, hawthorn oil. Yeah. Smells like death, is what I can say about that. I don't know how old it is, but it smells really bad. And that's going to give us a nice even cover and he needs a knife. He's never got a knife on him. For a man of many knives, it's going to give it a bit of colour, a bit of sealant, and then we're going to wax it over the top. Very powerful hawthorn oil. Gives colour a good depth to it. It's all got a bit faded and washed out. As you can see, the colour's starting to come back into the wood. If you use a dark stain, but make sure you put it in there, then it tends to get into the grain and gives it a deeper and better looking texture, as opposed to something that looks like it's washed out and faded. You can see where I'm going with this. What goes on this table is quite important, and this is coffee and ashtrays goes on this table. So once we give that coating of oil, that's got a nice colour now. Then we get some traditional beeswax. I say we get some traditional beeswax. That looks like that's gone hard. Beeswax gone hard. No good at all. Look at that. Whoa, fire. Also ignites really easily. There we go. Unignited. Nothing like a bit of excitement, is it? Did I burn the hairs off the end of that finger? Oh yeah, don't try this at home, children. Oh, Brad, about now he's going to be wetting his pants. He's not going to be able to cope with it. Fire! Right. And I push that in until it's nice and dull and feels like you've just destroyed everything you've just done. when that's nice and dull and you're quite confident that's got a good layer of wax all over it, put the lid back on the beeswax so you don't set it alight and don't burn your face on that. Right, and then we can buff that. Well, if you had a buffing machine or a buffing wheel, that would be the way to do it. I have an old duvet. So then what I do is I take off the really rough surface first until it starts to get slippery. Right, and then once it starts to get slippery, I'll take my dirty side, face it up, and then I put another rag inside it. So I make something that fits better into my hand. There you go. And then you can polish off the wax. So we have a nicely quick renovated top. All the nastiness has gone, it's nice and smooth again. The colour has been completely rejuvenated. And I've used hawthorn oil because that's what I've had and it's dark. But some of the older, more natural oils, wood can't really survive very well without the oils. It gets washed out and dry and it can crack, and put some oil into it, wax it over to protect it. Very quick, easy renovation. That go back upstairs, looks like new. So that's that. The entire process from start to finish, under 11 minutes. Really good. Okay, you know what I'm on to now, don't you? Sharpening these chainsaws. Let's get these sharpened and out of the way. Next job. The last time I sharpened the Husqvarna, which is the X-cut chain, I did it in a rush, just quickly, just because I needed to. I don't like doing that, bad mistake. So I noticed it was cutting on one side. Right, it's a classic example of not sharpening your chain properly. Also, and I don't want to teach anybody suck eggs here, right? Chain sharpening is a subjective matter. It's a bit like driving. From the passenger seat, you could judge 5 different people in 5 different ways. All of those 5 people can drive quite adequately. So, yeah, we'll call it a subjective matter and leave it at that. However, what I do know is that depending on which way you're sharpening your chain, and I sharpen by hand, you have more power one way than the other. And if you sharpen quickly and you don't think about the pressure you're applying, you sharpen one set of teeth on one side more than the other. And there's several factors to that, and we don't want to go into detail, but the blades actually slope slightly up. So sometimes if you sharpen more than the other, then the highest side, the side that you've sharpened less, pulls the chain, leaving an arc in the wood. It's bad sharpening practices. That's what it is. Is it possible to catch something on just one side of the chain and therefore take a few teeth off of the edge? Yeah, it is possible. Mainly on steel, it is possible. Anyway, when I was cutting those rapier logs out there, I broke every rule. And as I went through a log, the chain just hit the ground, enough to dull the chain, and I don't want that. And this one, I don't use this very much. I like this a lot. So this is a 18-inch on my Husqvarna 550 XP. 18-inch bar, 18-inch chains. Could be considered to be quite big here. It's 22-inch on my Sthil. It's a new Sthil, ain't done many hours this. What is this? MS462C. So there's probably only, yeah, 40 or 50 hours on this one. There's hundreds on this, maybe even thousands. So this was new 6 years ago, and this is my go-to chainsaw. So this is the one that gets used all the time. How many cords has it cut? Thousands and thousands of cords. And it's on its second piston. So the first piston, the exhaust pipe, came loose, and where it vibrated, a baffle within the exhaust pipe went into the inlet, bounced around inside the cylinder, wrecked the piston and the cylinder. So I've already replaced the piston and the cylinder on this, even though it's only a few years old. And that's the bolts coming out the exhaust and making it loose and rattling, and there's a little, you know, a nasty fillet of metal in there, and it can go in the port, and then that's that. So we're going to sharpen this one first, and we're going to sharpen this one slowly and accurately, and see if I can take that wind I've got. I know how to do it. And then we'll get onto this, and then we'll shelve both of these, because they'll both be needed. And then I've got a whole host of other chains for the 18-inch that I need to sharpen as well. So I need to get into all of that. We'll do this job, and that gets them off the floor. Now, I know I said I weren't going to give a tutorial on sharpening the chain because, as I said, it's a subjective matter. That's cat claw sharp. Right, if you don't know what I mean, you ain't had a cat. Now, the amount of times I've seen people sharpen chains and then proceed to lecture me on this and all the other crap that you have to listen to in life. Right, and what they haven't done is they haven't filed down their depth guides. Makes me laugh. These people. In between each tooth, some of you will know, some of you don't. On the knuckle, there's two bits that stick up, and they're depth guides. If you continuously sharpen your chain, as I've told you, the teeth are at an angle, and you don't file down your depth guards, you're going to think your chain is blunt, but the depth guides determined how deep your teeth cut. There's several ways of doing it. When you buy a sharpening kit, you can get a tool like this, and that goes over the teeth, and it exposes the depth guides, right? And that's great. That'll give you the chain or the chainsaw or recommended depth. Now, I don't like to use that. I like a slightly more aggressive cut. And how aggressive? Well, that depends. I'm slightly maybe 2 or 3 strokes below this. I can't say that for sure because it's. But anyway, once you've sharpened your teeth, and you can do this before or after, then you go across and take your depth guides off like this. Now, be careful, you're on a flat file, and these are your nice sharpened teeth. So always file slightly towards the back of the tooth in front, so that if you do slip off or catch a tooth, you're catching the back, the blunt end of the tooth in front, and not the front end or the end you've just sharpened. And then you just take your file across every single one until you get a nice consistent depth. Each one between the teeth. Now I've done that entire chain. Teeth, cat claw sharp, and all my depth guides are filed down to a level that was just slightly below recommended level, just gives me that bit more of an aggressive cut. Right, so that's the Husqvarna done. We'll move on to the Sthil now. Oh, interesting, right. Well, you can see all these blue teeth. Let's find my gold teeth. Right, and it ain't nothing to do with Snoop Dogg, I can assure you. Right, there's my gold link. And then I start at my gold link, and then I work down on my teeth, and then I mark a tooth so I know I've done it. This stops you over sharpening a tooth or missing a tooth. And then I move the chain along, and then I go down, and it's just, you know, it's a marker. It's it just makes sure I'm consistently doing what I'm doing, and then if you get distracted, you haven't got to go back and start touching or looking at teeth. Now I haven't, on the Sthil, I haven't filed the depth guides anymore because it's quite aggressive as it is. It's enough. The other thing about this particular machine is it's so powerful, if you have it too aggressive, it's hard to hang on to. And then likewise, if you've got to do a plunge cut, if your chain's too aggressive, doing a plunge cut with an aggressive chain on a really big tree, it's not so much of a problem. But if you're doing a plunge cut on a relatively small tree with an aggressive chain, you can very easily cut your side hinge out in an instant. In addition to that, if it's too aggressive, it's really hard getting it to start in. It's bouncing off the tree and you're going to have an accident even with a relatively small saw like this. And what this doesn't do, unlike the Husqvarna is my go-to, pick it up to do just about any job. Does the 550 XP lack a little power? Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. This doesn't lack any power at all. This one. This has got more than enough power for this size bar. You could go up to maybe a 26, 28, 30 inch bar and I think it would still be good. But there's no call for that. The only reason you would put a 30 inch bar plus on this is when your back got so bad and you've got to bend down then to start you know, logging it up. However, then I would say this was probably a bit too heavy for that. If you're starting to get to the point where a chainsaw is too heavy for your back, you need to downscale and then think more wisely about the trees that you're going to cut. I've sharpened these two up. We've got to go up onto the top hill. The building that we've been building out there, I need a huge tree for this area, right? In most of the places where you're logging, not everybody that watches my channel, but most places where you're logging, it would be a stick. But for here, it's got to be one of the biggest trees there is. And therefore, I'm looking for one 150 plus years old. And I only know one place that I can have access to with trees of that age. And I was talking to the old man, and it's his land, and I was telling him what I'm doing, and, you know, he's got heart of gold. He says, well, if he says, I've got one big enough, you can take it. And I said to him, I know you've got some big enough. He said, well, you can go and take one. So we've got to go up on top of the hill and have a look around the old man's land and find a tree. I'm sure I told you I need... where's my new tape measure? Look. What do I need? I need a cant. I need a cant 16 inches, which means I need something 25 inches in diameter, as high as I can get it. That's not a job for today because it's raining. We've got some other more important jobs to do, but that's done my saws. That's cleaned up my floor. I can have a quick tidy up, get the vacuum cleaner out, and we can move on to some plumbing, which absolutely, categorically, has to be done before the freeze starts. So, and I need to cut from the top of the building all the way to the bottom of the building in order to do it. And I'm using large diameter pipes, and that's a new project for another video. Anyway, I think that's enough variety for today. And I want to move on to doing some boring stuff. You don't want me vacuuming. Do we need to have a quick look at see how the chick's going? Well, I want to show you when the second one's born. They should have all been born yesterday or Monday, but only one's turned up so far. And Sarah says there's another egg with a crack in it, so possibly a second one's coming, not quite on time. Anyway, we'll do an update on the chicks in the next video. Thank you all for watching. Take those off. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to give it the thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Really helps if you want to see more content. I say like this, it's so varied, I don't even know where I'm going myself half the time. Anyway, we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.